Learning to code is one of the best things you can do for yourself. Here's my coding journey in 30 seconds. I wrote my first program when I took this online course called CS50, and I struggled. In fact, I got so frustrated, I even considered quitting. I got reintroduced to coding when I took another robotics course at school. From there, I began self-learning on the internet before deciding to get a CS degree. Now, I'm a computer science major at U of T, and last summer, I finished an internship at a FAANG company as a software engineer. All things considered, things went okay, but it wasn't a straight line upwards. I'm here to tell you how you can do better than me and avoid my mistakes. So what went wrong? I got a few things right, but there are 3 big mistakes I made when I was learning coding. Number 1, wrong mentality. Number 2, wrong starting language. And number 3, a lack of practice. And I'll get to these points as I explain what you should do instead. The first thing you need is the right mindset. Specifically, you need to practice making and then learning from mistakes. You shouldn't expect perfection. And this actually brings me to my first mistake, which is I got easily frustrated when things didn't work, when I didn't understand what I was doing wrong. And I thought to myself at the time, if I can't do these basic tasks, then how can I become a programmer later in the future? And this is simply not how things work. Not all engineers can write perfect code the first time they try. And in fact, it's not even necessary to do so. Instead, struggle is normal for all levels of engineers. How you respond to challenges is what differentiates a good engineer from a bad engineer. Now, once you develop the right mindset, how should you start? What skills and languages should you pick up? And what should your first programs be? No matter what kind of work you do, I think you should first learn the basics of programming. So obviously do the hello world thing, and then learn to use variables, loops, if conditions, and data structures like arrays. You should try to get comfortable in one general purpose language. And I'll get to the point here. My recommendation is Python as of the start of 2023. If you're gonna do web development, then I would also consider JavaScript. This brings me to my second mistake, which is I chose C as my first language because C is kind of the mother language. All languages are built upon C. I remember at the time I was thinking like, if you master C, all of the other languages are like simple by comparison, and so they'll be easy to learn after you first learn C. I remember I got past the basic for loops, while conditions, arrays, and functions pretty easily, but I stumbled when I got to pointers and memory allocation. Now, C is a very low-level language, so you control a lot of how the memory is managed. While that last 5% of knowledge is important for some programming specializations, you don't need a lot of that when you're starting to program. A good analogy is manual and automatic transmissions, like for driving. And I'd say your focus when you're first learning programming should not be on how the language does what it does, and instead you should focus on what you can do with the language. So just pick up one language of your choice and you can always change it later. Next, I recommend you follow a curriculum in the language that you've chosen just to add a bit of structure to your learning. It can be a formal course offered by like a university, or it can be a non-university affiliated course. Once you get comfortable with the basics in your chosen language, this is where I recommend goal-based project learning, where you set out with a clearly defined objective in mind. This could be like creating a calculator app or a simple like rock, paper, scissors program. Choose 1 for rock, choose 2 for scissors, and so on. Another classic example in like web development is to create your own portfolio website. And that is useful for like both learning and also like later when you're applying to jobs. This is your opportunity to really explore your own interests and see what's possible out there. Whether it's machine learning, like doing some kind of image classification, or creating an app and having users. This actually brings me to my third mistake, which is essentially I didn't have that much practical coding experience on my own. Once you kind of escape from the curriculum or the online course material, for example, there really is no longer that helping hand, both to like correct your mistakes and also to direct where your learning goes. In the absence of any help, you'll learn how to use online resources like Google and Stack Overflow. One of the reasons why I became demotivated the first time I was learning programming is I didn't really find something where it felt like what I was writing was directly translating into some real impact. You know, whether it's as simple as like seeing a website change on the screen as a result of the code that I wrote, or creating a game that's actually being used by people other than myself. The advantage of structured curriculums is that they keep you focused. However, that's also where a lot of the frustrations can creep in. You shouldn't neglect whether or not essentially you're having fun. On that note, I want to wish all of you good luck. I don't think people are so-called born to code, and some people are like born to not do this kind of work. I think it's instead more of a learnable skill. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.